Okay, so welcome everybody and welcome Chrissy. So Chrissy I met at a holistic expo maybe 3 weeks ago. Yeah, he did a really neat session with first my daughter and myself, and when we got talking I thought it would be neat to have Chrissy on just to share what she does and to also let, like I said earlier, I think it's quite important that we kind of understand what modalities are out there aside from what we do, because one size doesn't always fit all. We might have clients coming in and we work with them, but also they might, it might help them, to know other things as well. And, also complementing what we do as well, just having other modalities. So it's quite cool having people on to share what they do. So yeah, I invited Chrissy on, and Chrissy has a lot of knowledge. I noticed that when we met, so I thought it'd be cool, to welcome you on and have a chat. Yeah, so welcome, Chrissy.
Thank you so much, Justine. It was lovely to meet you and your beautiful daughter, Melody.
Yeah, she is a special thing most of the time.
Yes. She had, by the way, Melody had her own, had her own stall there, and she was selling little things for children.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
So she was just across the way from me, and I couldn't help but notice her. So yeah, so I did a session of the bars for her as my gift to her. Yeah. Cool. So has anybody heard about Access Bars? Like you were on here tonight? No. Nobody at all? Okay. So so bars is just one of the things that I do. It's such an amazing process, and it's a really good place to work with people with whatever's going on with them. And I actually discovered the bars myself over 25 years ago. I had there's quite lots of different things going on. What direction do I go in? Your thoughts. My son was 23 years old, and he'd been killed in a truck accident. And I absolutely refused to take any kind of medication or sedatives. So the reason being is because I'd actually lost a daughter to leukemia when she was a baby, and the doctors put me straight on medication. So I was put on a very strong dose of medication, and it took me 8 years to get off it. And when I look at that now, I know how lucky I was that I actually got myself off without any kind of assistance. But 8 years is quite a long time to finally kick the stuff. And when my son got killed, I was in extreme emotional pain, and I was determined I wasn't even interested. I would not even look at medication. And so I was desperately looking for something, and I came across this thing called the Access Bars, and I learnt to do it. And I just thought it was just another thing. But when I did it for my friends, they really loved it because it's so relaxing. It's extremely relaxing. And they used to say to me, do that bars thing for me. And then I became quite well known for doing bars in Auckland. And that's what actually gradually went, because when you do it for other people, you're actually working, it's working on you as well. So what is this thing called Access Bars? So it's really, it's very gentle. People don't have to talk when getting their bars run, but it actually goes. So let me just ask you a question. You guys are aware that thoughts are energy, right? The energy of billions of thoughts are actually stored in the head. So the bars are on the head. And it's the energy of billions and billions of thoughts that are stored in these bars on the head. And when you hold them really gently, it activates those energies. So I think we actually stuff the energy of thoughts into our bodies. Any kind of, we don't even realize we're doing it. We stuff them in. So quite often when people are getting their bars run, as we call it, the bars run, quite often they'll go through pain, or they'll experience some kind of aches and pains as they're going through as the bars are being that particular point is being released. And I think that's really because we've stuffed those energies into our bodies. But it actually shifts. It can create miracles, because you change your point of view. You know, your point of view creates your reality, right? And if you change your point of view, it creates miracles. And I see miracles, as you guys see miracles, and that's probably something similar to what you're doing with the work that you do. But does anybody have any questions about that?
How did you learn, Chrissy? Like, how did you train, or know how to?
So how I trained was the lady that taught it to me went to a class with the guy who founded Access Consciousness. He came from America to Auckland, and he did a class, and she actually pinched his material without having a license. And she called some friends of hers together and said, I want to teach you this. And I think you should come and learn it. So I went along and learned it. And, you know, the fact that I've actually spoken to Gary Douglas about the fact that she pinched his material, we don't really care, because, you know, I got to learn it. There was probably about 18 people in that class. And she didn't really know how good the bars was. She just experienced it at this class, but she thought that there was something in it. And I was probably the only person that ran with it. And I put that down to my friends who used to say to me, can you run that thing? Can you do that bar thing? It's so relaxing. And that's over 25 years ago now. So, and I still teach it. I still use it all the time. I've done about 5 bar sessions today for clients. Some new and some old.
Oh,
some kids. Yeah.
I think Andrew's got a question. Andrew?
Yeah.
Yes, Andrew.
Chrissy, I'm wondering about the release of energy and how bars differs in the way you release or shift energy, how it differs from that energy being released through techniques such as Reiki, Tai Chi, and mesmerism.
Yeah.
How does it differ?
So with bars, what we do when we first start a bar session, we pull energy into the body. And what that does, so we're pulling energy from the universe. And what that does is it gets the energies flowing. It opens up all the chakras in the body, so that as soon as you start to touch the points on the head, the energy is already moving. So you touch different points on the head, and it just activates those energies. And you hold them for, you know, sometimes I might hold different points for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You can actually feel the vibrations as they're releasing.
Right, but how does that differ? That was my question.
How
does it differ from those other energy modalities?
Could you tell me?
Oh, I was going to say,
might know.
yeah, I'll share my experience for people, and this is why I found it really interesting. And I'll share it more from a like a brain, more sciencey kind of perspective. What I found when I had the bars run, we only did half an hour, didn't we? So it was, I think, how long is a normal session, Chrissy?
Just be an hour, hour and a half.
An hour and a half. So yeah, so we did a half an hour session, and if you ever are in Hamilton and you go to the expos and stuff, Chrissy is there doing different sessions. But what I found was when even from a trauma perspective, I was lying on the seat, and it comes back like our hypno ones that we use that you can get from Kathmandu. And Chrissy's energy, of course, is very beautiful. Like it's a, you know, you lie down and it's just a beautiful, healing, soft, safe. Chrissy, it was very safe. That's how I felt. So, and I know from a trauma perspective, being with someone that feels very safe is incredibly important. But what Chrissy did was she first started with some points on my head and just held them so lightly, which was really interesting because from the nervous system place, I was being held by someone that was very safe. And she did talk, you know, she talked a little bit, but I had this gentle touch on my head. But when she touched my head, my thoughts would start, because it was quiet, my thoughts would start going from nice thoughts into things that have been going on in my life, you know, like discomfort, basically, you know, when you're in your head and you've got time to think, these things were coming up. But while they were coming up, Chrissy would just be there and still have the gentle touch in that spot, which was letting my nervous system know that you're safe, you're okay. And then she said, say a few things. And what I found was the healing was actually happening so much in the thoughts coming through, but then having someone there holding space and the gentle touch, almost like, I don't know if anyone's had that NES from the chiropractors that just gently touch the top of your head and then tell you to breathe. And I found it, the reason why I got Chrissy on was I found it really interesting because it was a very different way of working with uncomfortable feelings and trauma, but incredibly safe. And the touch was so gentle that, you know, if you pushed in hard and caused pain, the nervous system would be questioning, is this safe or not? But it was so gentle and so safe that it was almost like the thoughts that I was having were being told that everything was okay and things were shifting. So from a brain perspective, I saw it as a very powerful tool for working with trauma, especially with people that you know, don't want to talk. And then also Chrissy did something which I found interesting, was she did actually ask me at one point, when she must have felt something in a spot, what are you thinking about right now? And it was at a moment I was thinking about something that was uncomfortable. And by her saying, what are you thinking, and being there, I felt held, which of course, as you know, shifts the safeness and that memory again. So for me, because Chrissy was sharing with me from quite a spiritual perspective, but I was experiencing it from my mind trying to work out, okay, you know, like I do, working out modalities and how they work from a brain perspective as well. And so I found it, yeah, really interesting how things could quite easily shift in that space of being held in a way that was really, really safe, very, very, very safe, and yeah, gentle. So yeah, that was my experience, Chrissy, and it was a beautiful experience. And that's why I thought I'm going to share this, because you know, we all come across people that, and it might even be a way in to experience more, to go and have sessions that are so safe. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Wow, thank you very much. I've never had anyone tell me that, and I just want to say thank you very much.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to share the conversation.
Yeah,
it's a very different
cool
way of working with trauma and energy and thoughts that to me was quite unique and worth the conversation, you know, and worth looking at, worth the talk. Yeah. So, and then Christine, of course, shares it from a different way again, which is interesting. Yeah, Christine.
And have you had that lasting effect that it's helped you?
Yes, absolutely.
Things in a different way, Justine, though? Was your experience?
Oh, right. Good question.
Myself, from doing that, I went back to running the expo. My nervous system was completely in relax mode. Like it was completely in a space of just like I could breathe again. And I know that when we do work with stuff, whatever was coming up would have been shifted. And I experienced a very, like I said, the bars, Chrissy said last between 1 to 1.5 hours. And I thought it would be interesting to experience it from a longer place. And it does help with people with ADHD. And I did see that because you are forced to stop, and stopping is very uncomfortable. So when you're forcing to stop with someone holding space and holding that thing there, you go through a moment of, oh my God, it's like, I can't do anything. Okay, you know what I mean? But then that would shift into peace. So I can see how with people with that kind of mind, really racing mind, it would be uncomfortable at first, but it would start training you in a way to learn to be quiet, which is one thing we all need to learn as well. So I found that interesting as well. We don't really do that with the hypnotherapy, forcing that discomfort of being quiet. But with the fingers being there and knowing someone's holding you, it was almost like the feeling of being young and having a parent or someone watching over you, that, like if someone was really unsafe and you could never sleep, and then someone came in and they were watching over you and you could sleep. It had that kind of feel to it for coming down the nervous system. But with you, Chrissy, have you got some stories to share where people have come in quite a hard space, and how over time things have changed for them, apart from your own story?
It's a good question, actually. There's so many different stories. Which one do I go with? I think what I find with people is that I actually ask them now if they would come and have 4 sessions rather than just one, because with one session it can create a huge change, but there's way more with 4 sessions. So I've been running bars with some teachers, and so one teacher, she had a session, and we've been doing 45 minutes with the teachers, because what we find is we need to give them at least 15 minutes after they've had their bars run to actually adjust to the new space that they feel. Because if you have your bars run and then you've got to rush back to work, you're actually losing everything that you've just let go of. So what I invite people to do is we just have a cup of tea, we have a chat, and you will notice that I probably try to do the same with you, Justine, is not let you go back straight away, but just sit there for a few minutes, have a chat, have a glass of water, and then when you're ready to go back to work, you're ready to go back to work. And you actually, what the bars does is it's shifting stuck energy that you didn't even know you had, this stuck energy, and it creates a lot of peace and calm in the body. So you're actually more like a lot more kind of like relaxed. And some of the teachers have said, like, oh, well, I think I'll take the afternoon off today. We go, oops. But they really love it. And then one lady said, oh, well, I can't wait for next week, because we're doing it for 4 weeks.
Yeah. So Chrissy, you had a little pamphlet that you show to businesses, because you go into schools and businesses and use it to promote care in the workplace. And on that flyer, it had statistics, it had research where the person that started it. Do you have that with you, that little flyer thing, or is it tucked away?
Oh, now which one was that? Statistics.
It was one that you were showing. You had a little PowerPoint but PDF that was printed out that you take into
yes, that's in the car. I haven't got that, but what I could say, yeah, did I give you the flyer with the questions on?
it says on it, the bars involves touching 32 points on the head that start to clear limitations from your life. At worst, it feels like a great massage, and best, your whole life will change. It's got, I wonder if, I don't know if I will be able, if you guys will actually see it. No, I might take a photo and put it on, but it shows all the different points of the head and what they kind of, where they work. Like there's little spots that talk about the power band. There's communication, money, awareness, control, creativity, creating connections, yeah, different areas. And then of course, yeah, some nice questions that you ask daily. But if you are interested in access bars and jump online, yeah, there was a PDF with quite a lot of research on the science behind it, more working with trauma, and I thought that was quite interesting too. They had done some peer-reviewed research on doing it with people.
Oh yeah, did I send it? I sent that to you. That was the guy called Dr. Fannin, and he is a neuroscientist, and he did a study on the bars. He's also, yeah, he could see the changes in the brain before the bars and then after the bars.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I thought that was really neat. I'll see if I can. I don't think I did get it sent.
Did I not send that to you?
It's got the bio and the photo, but yeah, I was quite interested in that too. It was quite neat looking having a look at how the modality, being so gentle and just touching a point and holding space, was able to create such a big change. And they were SPECT scans. I remember talking about it because I know the guy that was doing the SPECT scans. Yeah, I found that quite interesting, because when you see on those scans a noticeable change in certain parts of the brain, to me it shows how there's quite a lot of stuff going on in such a gentle, just in such a, like I said, holding space and holding a point and being present and asking some questions to provoke, thoughts. And it was quite neat having a look at that.
So I'll come back to that, but there's a lady called Deb, she's got her hand up. But just remind me about what you just said then about asking questions to provoke thoughts. I'm going to come back to that. But Deb, what did you have a question?
Yeah, just the 32 points. Do they stem from any other modality like acupuncture or meridians?
Well, the actual the bars was actually channeled information, and so it's new information. It's not from any other kind of thing. Over 30 years ago, that the guy who channeled the information is a guy called Gary Douglas, and he was a psychic medium, and he used to do channels. He used to channel stuff for people, and he was asked to go and do a channeled guided massage, which turned into the bars, and that's how the bars came through.
Oh, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. So he thought it was going nuts, really, because when you run the bars, sometimes you think you're not doing anything. You might be just sitting there and you might not feel anything. And sometimes people don't actually give you much feedback either. Justine is an absolute gift. And sometimes people, you can really see you can see it in them, and sometimes they don't quite notice it themselves. Anything else on that, Deb? Okay, thank you for your question. So coming back to Justine and what she was saying about asking questions, sometimes when people have had something traumatic going on, it's quite useful for them to talk about it. So that, because what is happening is they're talking about it, is the points of view that are creating that are being released while they're talking about it. So the other day I had a lady who was really upset and concerned about cancer, and she had a little thing on the side of her nose that she'd have burnt off a few times, and then it was grown back, and so she had a lot of anxiety about cancer. So what we did is I did ask her lots of different questions, but really it's really about whatever she was speaking about, those are the thoughts that are being released. So it took all that anxiety away, and I don't have an answer for you yet about what that's created, but she's definitely, if you're relaxed about something, you're not going to create much more of it, really, are you? And if you, what we say in Access, we say if you don't have a point of view about it, then you're not going to create it as well. So we're always going to the place where we're actually, one of the tools that we use is to actually get rid of our points of view. And you can, if you would like me to give that to you, I can teach you a magical, what we call a magic wand that you can use for yourself without having the bars. If you would like that, would anybody like that? It's very weird. It's quite weird, but it goes like this. It's called the clearing statement, and it goes like this: right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. So if you have a point of view about something, and if you use the clearing statement, you're gradually going to clear those points of view about it. So if ever I feel a little bit weird, if I'm noticing weird energies, or if I notice that I've got thoughts that I go, you know what, I'm not going to have those thoughts. That's not who I want to be. So I'll go, okay, so everything that is right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds, and that will clear it. And then there might be more thoughts that come up, so I'll do it the same. And I use that, it's what we call verbal facilitation processes. So if somebody wants a session, you can do a session over the phone, and you can just clear their points of view with lots of different things. But the clearing statement is the crutch of it, and you can use it yourself. We can put that in the chat if you like. And it's abbreviations for, it's abbreviation for many, many different energies, whole heaps of them. Any questions on that?
I just found a little picture. I'll just share my screen very quickly, and you can have a quick look at what the bars look like, and then you'll have an idea. So here we go.
Well done.
I just found this on Google, but if you want to kind of explain them, or
yeah, okay, well, there's really not much to explain, excepting like communication. Oh, there is a lot to explain, actually. So communication is how we control communication, because we're always trying to get people to do things the way we want them to. So that's all the points of view that we have about communication. Time and space. So as you know, I bet you know this, time is human created. We've created time, but space is really what's true. So space is like, if you function from space, you're actually functioning from energy, which is prosperity. When you function from time, you're functioning from scarcity, because there's a limit on how much time there is in every day. So we always talk about space, but when you're having your time and space, those two bars down there, but just inside the hairline, it's really good to clear those points of view that you have. And I continue to have them cleared for myself, but it makes a change in what you can create, because as you know, everyone's got a different point of view about time. You Christine, you probably do lots more different things in your day, and you would have a different point of view about what time is to what I do. Each of us has a different point of view. And when you change your point of view about time, it creates magic, really. What about, does anybody else want to know any other different ones?
Can I just, can you do the bars on yourself? Like,
you can actually, if you would like to, right now. So there's a bar, see this bar down here, this one here, the coloured rainbow one. That is called the implant band. And it's called the implant band because we have been implanted with limitations. We get implanted by, you know, our parents, by teachers, schools, universities, the workplace. People get implanted with limitations. You can't do this, you don't do that, can't do that. So that you can actually put your fingers, the tips of your fingers, there's a bony ridge right behind your ear, and you go a little bit beyond that ridge, and you'll feel it feels like some knobbles, little indents. You could actually go to bed and just rest your arms on the pillow and hold that bar for 20 minutes and see what that creates. See if that creates any space. That's a great question, by the way, Christine. And you hold it with these fingers like that. So you just put them straight behind the ear. Can you feel that bony ridge? Can you feel that? Go a little bit higher, Christine. A bit higher.
Do you, with this, Chrissy, do you intentionally put your energy into the client as well? Or,
No.
you know, Reiki, you use energy and you put it into the client. Is this more that the client is healing themselves and you're holding the space and the points? Is that?
So it's really a channel. You're just holding those points. I don't have, a lot of people might say, a lot of people ask you, you know, did you pick up anything that's going on for me? It's like, no, what did you pick up? What are you getting? This is your session. It's not what I think. It's not what I notice. If I'm doing a session where someone has something in particular that they really want to clear, I will be looking for different energies and I will ask them questions around that to allow for more of the, sometimes, you know, bars just bring up emotions, for instance. And if there's been a trauma there, and so if a person's had their bars run 3 or 4 times, sometimes that emotion will come up, and it's really just about letting that emotion come up and come up and come up. And if it doesn't keep on clearing, I'll still just keep holding those bars points until the emotion gradually dissipates and goes away. If a person has had some kind of trauma or upset, today I was working with a lady who wasn't sure whether she wanted to stay in relationship with her husband. And I think it's a really good place is to talk about it while you're running the bars, because it's not going to create, you know, when you talk about stuff, you're actually creating something. When you're getting your bars run and you're talking about something, you're actually releasing the thoughts that are creating that. So we talked about that quite openly, and I invited her to have a look at it and really get her awareness around what she wanted to have, what was going on, and really just have a look at it. And I don't have an answer for you, but I always say to people, if you are thinking about separating, it's really good to actually make a plan for it rather than just do it one day, which is what I did. But it's always good to kind of have the awareness, is that something that I really want to do? And then there's lots of actual tools that I can give people to help things get easier. Hello, Christine.
When do you always do the 32 points with everyone, or is there?
I always do, pretty much always. I run a babies. I love to run babies, especially if they're brand new babies. And I just go around and just touch the different points, just touch them like that. So I'm not holding the babies. I'm just touching them with my fingers. And it takes about a minute. You can go around every bar. And then if you're lucky enough and you can get to run the babies bars a few more times, they actually lie there the next time you run the bars, and they let you hold the bars because they can feel how relaxing it is.
Oh, so Deb, did you have a question?
Oh, it was just the same as to whether or not you run through all of the like a protocol of all of the bars in each session, or whether or not you hone into a specific area.
Occasionally I will. Occasionally I will, but I will still go and touch every other bar just to activate it. Thank you very much. And Andrew, how are you? Yeah.
My question, sort of from a practical perspective, particularly with this time that we've gone through with COVID.
Yeah.
How do you do this on a virtual basis when
you
you can't physically touch?
You can't do bars on a virtual basis. We're not actually, we just don't. It's just something that the bars needs to be in physical touch.
Right.
But so, you can use that thing like the clearing statement. Sorry, Andrew.
So that lockdown period would have been a really no-go time for this modality.
Well, I still carried on doing bars, by the way.
Right.
I still had people coming to see me. I would say to them, I haven't been vaccinated. Is that all right with you? Yep. And they still came.
Right. Okay.
It did slow down my business a little bit because I couldn't get out and about and, go out and see people and talk to them about bars. But there were still people that came, and I still taught classes. If people were happy to do that, I still did. I'm probably a bad girl.
Any other questions?
I just want to ask, I've been hearing a bit through other people lately as well about some people that have been through such trauma and have such anxieties that they just really don't like to be touched. They don't like people in their space. So have you worked with anyone that gradually got better? Maybe they couldn't in the beginning, but then it got better?
No, I haven't actually had that. I have not been able to do that. I had one lady that did not want to be touched, and I used to use another thing, and not on the head. She didn't want to be touched on the head. So I used to do another process for her called MTVSS, which is on the body. But I never got back to running her bars. She would not let me do her bars. So
I was just saying on that. So my daughter is a child that doesn't like to be touched. Just like me, she's ADHD, homeschooled, even like today, we had to do photos, family photos. I had to go and do them. I wasn't feeling very well, as my students know, I cancelled things today, but we had to do photos, and I wanted to, because it was a professional photographer, just have one of the two girls and me, and the photographer told her to hug me, and she actually put her elbow on me. And I'm like, come on, just for the photo. But what I found really interesting, and I think it might be your energy, Chrissy, was I didn't know that Melody was having one. I knew that she had mentioned it to me, but I think when it happened, I had shot outside to check on the dog. And when I came back in, she was just lying down on this bed with her eyes closed, having a little conversation. I could hear something about the horse, a bit of a grin. And she was chilling out on this bed, having her head touched. It was interesting. It was very interesting. And I thought, you know, because when you do have, you know, children with like the overwhelm of the sensory stuff going on, they're very standoffish, but she was very comfortable just being in that space. And it could be an energy thing with you, Chrissy. It could be, you know, having the energy of just feeling safe, or the way it was done with the lying down and it just being such a gentle touch. But she stayed there for the whole half an hour. It was which I found that interesting as well. So something to do with the space, maybe it being so gentle and not being so in your face, really, you know. It was, yeah. So she accepted it completely, instantly, without me pushing or even really knowing what was going on.
Wow. Did I ask you to ask your permission to get her bars done?
Yeah. That was earlier in the day. She said, because I think you went out to lunch, and she was like, I'm going to go and have one of these things with that lady. And I said, yeah, sweet as. But I said, when you get back, because I think to lunch for an hour or so. So I shot out to check the puppy, and when I came back, she was lying down on the bed off to
okay. Yeah. And we got talking about the horses too, because that makes her happy. Horses.
Yeah. So that was that is an example of a child that's not not the most touchy child at all,
wow.
and with someone she'd only just met. So yeah, it is that's why I found it quite interesting, the modality, just what the different things. Yeah,
very cool. Thank you so much. Yeah. So any other questions?
Cool. I'll ask you a question, Chrissy. So if people do want to have a session with you or talk with you more, how do people get hold of you? I will share the details on the for people listening in.
Yeah.
I'll share your bio and your contact details on the video clip and on YouTube. But if people want to get hold of you, how do people reach you, Chrissy?
Yeah, so I've got a website called chrissyshirley.com.
Yeah.
If people just want to have a chat, they're welcome. Has my phone number? Have you got that?
Yeah, I've got it on the back of my phone.
They can text me on that if they just like to have a chat and talk further about your own personal situation, or I don't care really, whatever you want to talk about.
And I suppose, Chrissy, do you know
Yes,
so
I do.
people around New Zealand, if people South Island, who to recommend? Yeah.
Yes,
cool.
Absolutely. And also, yes, hello, Chrissy.
Oh, I just wondered, how much do you charge for a session?
So for a bar session, I charge $150 for a 1 hour one-off session. But I usually invite people to come for 4 sessions, once a week for 4 weeks, and it's $125 if they commit to that 4. I do also over the phone sessions, which are $200 an hour, but usually they're either quarter of an hour or half an hour. That's the reason I charge $200 an hour, because it's usually a $100 session. And those phone sessions can be very effective as well.
And so the phone session is because you can't touch them, is that more to do with language, Chrissy?
It's to do with that clearing statement.
Yeah.
That clearing statement is quite potent, and it's really, there's a lot of wonderful stuff that can be shifted and changed for people quite amazingly. Yeah. And we do that on Zoom, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
like
awesome.
we're doing now. Yeah. Yes, we can put the clearing statement, Deb. Let's do that. Let me type that in. I'll just type that right now. Right and wrong. Oops, I've gone and done it. Okay. Good and bad.
It's good. It's okay doing it, a bit at a time.
Pod and Pock, all 9 shorts, boys, Povads, and beyonds. So that's short speak. Those are all short speak for a whole lots of different energies. So has anybody got a question? Like, would you like to know? Let me just explain right and wrong and good and bad, because that's very easy. So, you know, if you have a point of view, for instance, say you've got a point of view about life is hard. So what right and wrong is doing is just saying, okay, so what's right about that and what's wrong about this, that life is hard. So it's clearing all those points of view about what's right about it and what's wrong about it. Same with good and bad. So life is hard. What's good about it? What's bad about it? And then the next one is pod and pock, which you can use yourself too. Pod stands for point of destruction and point of creation of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions immediately preceding when you ever decided to create such a thought, which could be a lifetimes ago. So that's what pod and pock is doing. So that's just the quick way of explaining that. Any questions?
What's Povads?
Povads is a very good question. Point of view that you are avoiding and the point of view that you are defending. So because for each point of view, you also have, you're avoiding it and you're also defending it. And that's actually, it's been put in recently into the clearing statement because it actually clears a whole lot more points of view around it. So if you had the point of view that life is hard, then and you've got the Povads, points of view that you're avoiding. So what points of view are you avoiding? And what points of view are you defending with this point of view? And then you clear all those. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, pock, all 9 shorts, boys, Povads, and beyonds. Have fun with it if you wanted to play with it. You're very welcome.
Yeah. I'll before we finish up, I will read out these questions to create an amazing life and living, which is something Chrissy gives out. Ask these questions daily, and whenever you feel inspired, see what changes in your life. So number 1 is, what else is possible? Us hypnos will love these questions. So asking yourself, what else is possible? How does it get any better than this? What are the infinite possibilities? Would an infinite being truly choose this? What would it take for ... whatever you desire to show up? Basically, you're getting your brain onto the job. Who am I today, and what grand and glorious adventures will I have? What does the planet require of me? What choice do I truly have? What am I grateful for today? What would it take for this to turn out greater than I could imagine? And if I was living my life today, what would I choose? And at the bottom it says, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Very nice questions.
And if you ever wanted to just have like a half hour just going over those questions and expanding on those and giving you greater awareness around all of those, I'm happy to do that. That could be fun if that's something that's of interest to anybody.
Awesome. All right, Chrissy, thank you so much for
thank you everybody for your questions too. Yeah.
See.
Thank you.
And for people listening, this is they'll be hearing it, but yeah, this will be going up, or if you want to listen to it again, it's going to be going on our members platform and onto YouTube. And Chrissy, yeah, I'll add your bio and your contact details for people to get hold of you. And thank you so much. And thank you from HNZ for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'd just like to say to everybody here, how does it get any better than this? And how much more fun can we all have? And thank you so much for asking your questions. And I do hope I get to meet some of you. sometime. Lots of love, everybody.
Thanks,
So much.
Chrissy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.